Hello, I'm Craig Latimer, your Hillsborough County Supervisor of Election, and you're watching Tampa Bay Community Network.
Hi, I'm Bill Hodges, and this is Spotlight on Government, and I have one of my favorite guests with me today. Are you tired of elections? Are you just beat right down with all the CNN and all the other coverage of elections? Well, that's all right, but you still got to go vote. And I have Craig Latimer with me, Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections. Craig, so good to have you with us. You're going to tell us about how to go vote now.
I'm going to tell I'm going to tell you how you can vote, not how to vote. So yes, that's true.
What's going on? I assume that this has got to be a very busy time for you.
Well, we've got a big year. As you know, there's 3 elections this year. We have the presidential preference primary, then the regular primary, and then of course November 8th, the general election to choose the next president of our country. Also numerous local races that we'll have on the ballot here. So there's a lot of activity going on in our office.
Let's go back to the start. Let's say before that first primary elections. Let's talk about what you've had to do there and what changes are going to be going on, and then on through to the presidential.
Okay. Well, we have, as an office, we have a lot of changes that are going on, but a lot of this is going to be seamless to the voter. We have brand new voting equipment. We have new tabulators.
New machines?
New machines. Now, it's going
So
to be...
I got to learn to run a new machine?
No, it's going to be seamless to the voter. They're still going to have to bubble in their choice on a paper ballot.
No
and
hanging chads?
Feed it into the machine. So that's going to be, like I said, seamless for the voter. The other thing that we're going to have is electronic poll books in all of the polling sites on election day. Oh. So if you vote on election day, you're used to going into the polling site and there's a big paper book there and they flip all these pages to go through the book until they can find your name. Now they're going to be using an iPad mini that has the entire voter database in it, and they'll be able to bring you up immediately with your driver's license or manually through a search.
All right, so I have to bring my driver's license or some form of identification with me, correct?
That's correct. You have to bring...
What are the forms of identification? Let's start with that.
You have to bring a photo and signature ID, and they don't have to be on the same piece of identification.
Okay.
Several things. Obviously, the Florida driver's license is the best one because it has your signature and your photo on it. A Florida ID card. Also, military ID cards are allowed. Passports. There's actually about 9 different forms, and there may be a few more. The legislature's actually talking about a couple more right now.
Or it's any state
but
type.
They can, well, there is...
State or federal government.
There's some that aren't specific
okay.
to, but I would just encourage people that if they have a question, go to our website at votehillsborough.org, and we have all of the different forms of identification. You can actually use a credit card for a photo or signature identification. So Florida's got a really good identification law. Yes.
But that doesn't say, you don't have to prove you're a citizen, right?
You have to prove you're a citizen and swear to it when you register to vote.
Right? But when you walk up to the counter, that's already been taken care of.
You've already sworn to and affirmed the fact that you are a United States citizen and eligible to vote.
Because you see a lot of them, well, I want a voter's ID card that everybody has to carry. But we've got so many ID cards.
We do. We have a lot. And you know what I hear is that, you know, when you fly, you have to show identification. And when you vote, you have to show identification.
Tampa. Yeah. Go into Canada, you've got to show something.
Sure.
So having an ID card is not a big burden, but you don't need 16 more of them. That's my opinion, not his.
You know, and we get, I would say conservatively, 98% of our voters produce a Florida driver's license.
Now, I put out my driver's license and I give it to your person at the poll, and they pull it up and say, oh, hey, this address doesn't match. What do I do now? Well,
you can actually update your address at the polling site on election day. We try and encourage people, though, be ready to vote, be vote ready. Make sure that your name, your address, and your signature are all up to date. So, you know, fortunately, we're tied in with the driver's license. So if you moved and you updated your driver's license, they should also update your voter information.
Oh, that'll automatically be handled?
They should do it at that time.
By the registrar?
Yes. But again, we encourage people, you know, take the time, update your signature too. That's one of the biggest things, because As we mature, sometimes our signature changes a little bit after
Well,
we get tired of writing it so many times.
it will when you do it on one of these. I'm thinking of the cash registers that I have to write my signature on for my credit card. And anybody that could consider they knew my signature from it, it'd be really difficult.
You know, and we piloted these in the 2014 election. We did 10% in the primary, 20% in the general, and then we did the entire city of Tampa election on these. And the people take a few more minutes using the stylus to write their names so it is nice and legible.
Instead of scribbling like we do on the...
We are seeing real good matches with the signatures, that's for sure.
Now, is it electronically matched, or does the person at the poll have to look at it?
The person at the poll will compare the signature against
the card
against the identification you have provided.
How many people will you have in a primary election, in a general election? There's a big difference in that, right?
In the amount of turnout? We do have a big difference in turnout. Primary elections in Hillsborough County can range anywhere from 45 to 55%. In a presidential general election, we average about 73%. So there is a wide difference. One of the things, you know, in the presidential preference primary, the only people that can vote in that are members of the Democratic Party or the Republican Party. So if you're an NPA or other, there's nothing on that ballot for you to vote on. So that will reduce the number of people that are actually eligible to vote in that election.
Now, there is an exception to that, is there not?
Not in Florida.
Not in Florida.
Other than you have 29 days before an election, you can change your party.
Okay.
So if you were an NPA, 29 days before the election comes, you can change your party affiliation to whatever major party you want to change it to. And then you can change it back after the election or change it again after 29 days before the next election.
What if somebody's running without an opponent? Does that change the ability to vote for an NPA?
In Florida, if somebody is running without an opponent, the law considers that person to have voted for themselves and they are an automatic winner and their name will not appear on the ballot.
Really?
Yes, sir.
There's a lot more to this than I thought there was. When you get to the general election, how many do you think will be voting here in Hillsborough County?
Well, like I said, we normally average about 73% of our voters that show up to vote in a presidential election. Currently, right now today, we have about 787,000 registered voters in Hillsborough County.
780,000?
787,000 in Hillsborough County.
Wow, that's a bunch.
And that number will continue to go up as we get closer to the general election.
What if I'm one of those people who hasn't registered yet? For any one of the elections, how soon can I wait, or how long can I wait before I register?
That's a great question, and again, it goes back that you can register to vote 29 days before an election. We have what we call book closing at the 29th day before the election.
Okay.
And that's the last chance that you have to register to vote and to change your party affiliation. You can always update your address. You can update your address at the polling site on election day.
Oh, you can?
But to register to vote and to change a party, it has to be done before 29 days from an election.
If I go to the polling booth and they take my driver's license, drop it in, and say, well, wait, you're at the wrong place. You came here last year, but your polling place is somewhere else because you changed your address. What happens?
Well, Bill, first off, on the front end of that, we do a very good job. If we change somebody's polling site, we notify them. By law, we have to.
All right.
So we notify them and we make sure that they've got good mailings. They're going to get a new voter information card. Additionally, their sample ballot is going to have the information right on there where their polling place is, so that they've gotten several notifications. If they still show up at the wrong place, we will then redirect them and give them the address and directions to their appropriate polling place.
But they can't vote at their old one.
Well, I was going to say, why that's important is that, you know, when early voting, you can go to any of the 15 early vote sites that we have around the county, because we produce your specific ballot on demand. So we print your ballot right there. On election day, your ballot is already printed and it's in your precinct. So we want you to go to your precinct so that we can match you up with your ballot at that point. So it's very important, and again, the law requires you to vote in the precinct you live in.
So synopsizing. If I go and I change my driver's license, I don't have to worry about finding out where I'm going to have to go vote, because if there's a change in my voting, you're going to send me a card telling me where to go.
That's true.
Correct?
That is correct.
One thing I've found in this world, there are always people willing to tell me what time it is and where to go. And you're one of the people going to tell me where to go.
And additionally, we encourage people, go to our website. You can actually look up your voter information on our website by putting in certain information, and it'll tell you specifically where your polling site is. Call our office if you want to, 813-744-5900, or again, go to our website, votehillsborough.org.
What are the options for voting? I have never missed an election from the first one that I voted in when I turned 21 to today. And I've had to do it by a lot of different ways, some more often than not by mail-in ballot because I travel. But what are the options that people have here in the state of Florida?
Well, first off, when you're talking about your voting record, they have a name for you. You're what's called a super voter because you do vote all the time.
Well, I think it's responsible.
Absolutely. There's three ways that you can cast your
And
ballot.
I like to complain.
There's three ways that you can cast your ballot. The first is vote by mail. And there's a lot of myths around vote by mail. You don't have to be out of the country. You don't have to be out of town. You don't have to sign an affidavit. We have what's called no excuse absentee or vote by mail voting in Florida.
Oh.
So all you have to do is request a vote by mail ballot, again, through our website, or fill out a form, send it to our office. We're going to get your vote by mail ballot, and we'll mail it to where you ask us to mail it to. You're going to, in the comfort of your own home, fill out that ballot. Take time if you want to research candidates or issues. Put that ballot in the secrecy sleeve, put it in the envelope, seal it, sign the oath on the envelope, and then drop it in a mailbox. We pay the return postage, so you don't even have to put stamps on it.
You know, I asked my wife about that the other day and said, no, I just have to send it back.
That's it. And if
That's pretty cool.
If you don't want to put it in the mail, you can drop it at any of our early vote sites. We have drop boxes at our
On
early
early
vote sites.
vote days, but
During
not
early
on
voting,
election day.
That's correct.
Okay.
And election day, it must be in our office. You cannot take it to a polling site on election day. It has to come to our office by 7 p.m.
But it could be brought to you. You're on Falkenberg?
Yes, we have 4 offices. We have an office on Falkenberg, one downtown. Then we have a Northwest Regional office on Gun Highway and a Southeast office that's at 301 in Gibsonton Drive. So that's vote by mail is one method to vote.
Okay.
And we really encourage people to take advantage of that because it's just an effortless way to vote.
Works for me.
The second is early voting. And early voting generally begins about 15 days before an election. And as I said, we have 15 early vote sites around the county. And again, people can go on our website, and we encourage them to, especially when we get to the November election, because we actually have wait times on there too. So if you might be at work and you pull our website up and you go, oh, the one by my house has a 30-minute wait time. But look, I passed right by this place here on my way home and it's got no wait at all. So we encourage people to go to our website and look at that. So again, at early vote,
there's 15 of them?
There's 15 of them, and they're in libraries except for our offices. All the other ones are in libraries, which are strategically throughout the county also. 15 days of early voting, we're going to produce your specific ballot on demand, we call it, and you will fill out your ballot and you're going to put it right in the tabulator yourself there. And then of course, there's one other way to vote, and that's election day. And as I tell people, election day is not the first day to vote, it's the last day to vote. Right. So if you wake up on election day with the intentions to vote, I hope that first off you aren't sick. I hope your kids aren't sick. I hope your car starts. I hope you don't have a flat tire. I hope you don't get in a wreck. And I hope you didn't have a tree fall across your car from a storm that came through. Don't get shut out. That's what we encourage people. Take advantage of early voting. Take advantage of vote by mail. Get your ballot in, make your vote count.
I like I guess when I send in my ballot, I don't have it, but I like the little I voted sticker. That's kind of neat.
And
Could you
again,
put some of those in the mail-in ballots?
If people come by one of our drop sites or our offices to drop their vote by mail ballot in the box, they can get one of those there. So that takes it away. But We do not include them in the absentee ballot or the vote by mail ballot
You don't want any
package.
stolen ballot by people who don't return them still wearing their sticker.
Well, I don't think they'll do that.
What if I choose to change my party? What is involved with that? Do I have to sign any declarations or?
You have to fill out a voter registration application, and it's an update at that point. And there's a box on it that says I want to update it, and then you change your party, you sign it, you put all your information in there again with your personal information, your name, address, date of birth. We also have to have the last 4 of your social or a Florida driver's license to be able to make that match.
Okay. But there's no fee for changing or anything
Absolutely
like that?
not.
What do you think are the biggest questions that people have about voting?
Well, I think one is
What causes confusion? I
yeah,
guess,
we talked about it, and that's that on election day you have to vote in your precinct. You know, people for 2 weeks have been riding by the library, and they saw everybody going to the library, and then they show up at that library, and that's not their precinct, because a lot of our early vote sites are also election day voting sites. So that's one of the biggest confusions that people have. There's also, you know, I mentioned to you about some of the myths with vote by mail. I hear it all the time still, that people think that we don't count the vote by mail ballots unless a race is real close. and that's the farthest thing from the truth, because we actually count the vote by mail ballots first. Those are the very first
Would
numbers.
seem to be the easiest way to get them out of the way.
Those are the very first numbers we release after 7 o'clock on election night.
Now, you do not count any of those before 7 o'clock on election night?
They are actually processed, and they're held in queue, and then those numbers are pushed up after 7 o'clock.
Okay, but you know, the staff knows what the early voting is done.
That is incorrect. We
No?
do not. We do
Okay.
not know that.
So nobody knows?
We do not push that information out at all.
Okay, just it's in the machine, but nobody
We know we've got votes there. We don't know who they're for.
peeks?
We
That
can't
must
look
be
at
the
it.
hardest, worse than a child waiting for Santa Claus.
That's the beauty of computers. You can't see it. It's, you know, it's held in queue basically, and then it's pushed up after 7 o'clock. The early vote and the vote by mail numbers are your first numbers released. You'll see that when we do the election night returns. It'll say right on it, you know, early vote and vote by mail is the first thing that comes
okay.
out. And then eventually the precincts start rolling in.
What about military sending in their ballots from Afghanistan and all these other places? Do they have to be there before election day? Do they have any slop on that at all?
Well, let's talk about the military, because again, I think Florida does a great job, and we've got a good reputation federally with how we deal with military. First off, the military ballots overseas go out 45 days before an election. And we have several ways we can deliver that ballot. We can mail it the standard way to the address they provide.
Okay.
We can also
To the APO or
email. We
wherever.
can also email a ballot,
Oh, really?
and we can fax a ballot. Overseas military can then return that ballot by mail or by fax with the appropriate oath on it. So that's very convenient for the military to be able to do it that way. And the other thing is also, again, and this is law, that in a federal election like the upcoming presidential election, we can actually receive overseas ballots up to 10 days after the election, again, for the mail.
So nothing is really set for 10 days, correct?
That's correct. In Florida, and you know, a lot of people have pointed fingers at us and said we can't count very quick and stuff. The reality of it is that we don't certify an election until 10 days after the election.
So in a really tight election,
And it's to give the overseas military a chance to make sure that their vote counts.
wow. So election night, if it's close, you have these ballots that come in from anywhere. Now, is it just the military
Yeah,
or any?
overseas, military overseas.
Military overseas.
And civilian overseas, yes. To give them a chance to get those ballots back.
So civilian overseas also, not just
and
military?
it all has to do with the mail. You know,
So if
we know that the mail's
If I'm
slower.
in Canada and I mail my ballot back from there, you're going to wait 10 days to get it back?
We're going to wait for
With the
Afghanistan.
Canadian
We're going to
meals-
wait for Afghanistan and that theater.
with the Canadian mail system, Afghanistan will get there first. Sorry about that. I happen to have been born there, so I'm pretty aware. That puts a real burden on you to keep things right current. Watch that mail every day coming through.
Absolutely.
All right, when somebody walks into a voting or polling place, there's always that new voter. I saw a whole group of new voters get sworn in not too long ago. And this will be the first time they'll have an opportunity to exercise their citizenship. What can they expect? Here you've got this little machine, and that'll be at all the facilities
That's
now,
correct? Yeah, that's correct. And again, you know, we're going to have a good experience for the voter. When they come there, it's going to be very obvious where they need to go. They're going to be directed where they need to go to check in. They're going to then, after the check-in process, they will be issued a ballot. And again, they'll be directed and be very easily to see where they're going to go to a privacy booth to fill that ballot out. And then to ultimately cast that ballot in the tabulator. Again, they will be directed to that. They will walk up, feed that ballot in. A nice big screen on there will tell them that their ballot was in fact counted. Or it'll tell them you might have overvoted in a race, so you might want to go back and get another ballot.
Oh,
because you
okay.
might have voted for too many people in a race.
Click too many of the, or not erase something clearly or whatever?
No, at that point you would go get a new ballot. We would spoil your old ballot. You can get up to 3 ballots.
Oh, okay.
And give you another opportunity to fill out the ballot then and not vote for too many people.
I noticed in this group of people that were being sworn in as U.S. citizens, they represented people from literally all over the world. Mm-hmm. It is required that you have a command of the English language in order to get a citizenship, but I don't think that command is really very strong. What about languages when it comes to ballots? What if Spanish is my primary language?
Well, in Hillsborough County, we actually produce all of our voting material, including the ballot, in both English and Spanish. So your ballot is both English and Spanish right on the ballot. And that's required by the Department of Justice for Hillsborough County. We're a language jurisdiction because we have such a large Hispanic population that they afford us the opportunity to be able to produce that ballot in both English and Spanish.
What if my primary language is Mandarin?
Then you can bring somebody to translate for you.
Oh, so I can have somebody in
Sure.
the booth with me if I bring them in myself?
If you need assistance, you just fill out a form that you need assistance, and this person's going to assist you.
But you won't provide that
We
kind
do
of
not.
assistance?
We do not.
And there isn't ballots printed in other languages?
That is correct. There is no other language. But I would also like to just point out to you that one of the things that we have also is the AutoMark, which is a disability marking device. So if you speak English, but you are hearing impaired, sight impaired, you have the ability to utilize this machine. It's like a touch screen, and it will actually mark your choices on the ballot.
Oh, really?
The ballot still has to be cast into the tabulator, but this device even has sip and puff capabilities that might be encountered by someone that's quadriplegic.
Wow. That's pretty high tech. How many people do you have working at all these polls?
Well, this is interesting. First, let me tell you how many people that we have that work in the Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections office. 42.
42.
42 people
To cover
for 787,000 registered voters.
I was going to round it off at 790,
and
but
347 precincts with over 285 voting sites around the county. We will bring on approximately 250 to 300 temporary employees that will just be at our office that are going to be doing logistics, getting equipment out, preparing stuff, making sure that we've got the ballots ready to go, all the equipment's ready to go. And then on election day, we will have an additional 3,000 poll workers that will be trained and will be at the polls waiting for the voters to come in so that they can have a great experience.
that's pretty cool. How do you find these people to help?
We do a lot of recruiting throughout the year. And we actually, one of the greatest things we have a program that's called Adopt a Precinct.
I've heard something about that. What is it, Rotary or
well,
groups?
it's civic organizations that have a 501c3 status, and their members, and doesn't have to just be their members, it can be friends, family, whatever. They work the polls, we train them, they work the polls, and then instead of us writing an individual check to each one of them, we write a check to the organization.
Oh, that's pretty
And
neat.
I like to tell the story. We actually, in East Hillsborough County, we had a group of Boy Scouts, the parents, got together. They worked the polling site. We ended up writing them a check for almost $3,000. They used the money to repair the bus so that the boys could go camping in the summer. Just a tremendous way to do business. And it helps us because we get people that are really civically engaged in the community already.
They're not there for the money.
Be they belong to the Rotary, the Civitans, whatever club it is that they belong to. And yeah, they're trying to raise money for their organization, and 9 times out of 10, they're donating it someplace else anyway.
Yeah. They're not there to be paid. They're there to do something good for you and also do something good for another charity. I think it's fabulous.
So that's one of the greatest ways that we get poll workers, and word of mouth too. We have just a lot of people that are poll workers, and they'll talk to their friends at church or talk to other friends in their neighborhood, the different circles that they have.
So it could be a church group.
Yes, absolutely.
And a lot of your polling places are churches.
Yes, they are.
Would seem to me a natural fit.
Yes.
Where the pastor wanted to put a few dollars together.
A lot of those are adopted drop sites.
Now, I'm curious.
Adopted precincts.
Does the county pay a rental fee to these various places they use?
We do. If it's not a county facility, we do pay a small stipend for cleanup and utilities, things that we use for the day.
Craig, what have I missed? What do you think? We've got about 2 minutes. What have I missed that you want to be sure the people hear about?
Well, one of the things is, again, I want them to have a great voting experience. And I think that it's important to know, Bill, that the Hillsborough County Supervisor of Elections Office is the first elections office in the state of Florida that has received the Governor's Sterling Award based on the Malcolm Baldrige criteria. So we're just really proud of that. We're proud of that. And what it says to the voters is that I take their trust seriously, and that we're going to make sure that they have a great experience and that we're reporting accurate results in a timely manner. The one thing that I would say is if you got a question, call our office, go on our website. There's a tremendous amount of information on there.
Oh, there's
so
a
that
bunch.
You're ready to vote. We don't want you walking into the polling site on election day not having read your sample ballot. Be ready to vote, know what the issues are, do your research, and be ready to come to vote.
Take notes with you, everything, right? And by the way, on that website, there's the names of all the people who are elected officials, where they're running from, where they're representing. All of that information is on that website. It's one of the best ones that's put out by either the state, county, or any of the local officials to give you the best information.
And if you have any suggestions, pass those along. We'd be more than happy to try and get more information there.
Yours is an office that I've found to be very, very easy to get to. Your people are very quick to answer questions. If they can't answer them, they call you right back.
Well, I can tell you that the people that work in our office get excited about putting on elections.
Well, I'm excited to have had you here.
Thank you, Bill.
I hope you'll come back and see me again. I'm Bill Hodges, the Spotlight on Government. We've had Craig Latimer with us. Craig is the Supervisor of Elections here in Hillsborough County. I want you to know this. You are special, you are unique, you are great. Tell yourself so often because you are. And we'll see you on the next Spotlight on Government. And Craig, again, thanks for being with us.
Thank you.